down. Morning, everyone. Welcome to Regional Property Unplugged for this Tuesday. We had a little bit of a break last week. First of all, before we get started...
Because you went to Cairns.
Yes, exactly.
I want to go to Cairns.
Cairns was amazing, absolutely amazing, and very hot in March. Before we get started, if anyone's on there, are we sideways? If there is, please comment if we're sideways.
Have a look on yours.
Well, I can't find us. Hang on.
Okay.
Let's find you. So, yeah, comment if we're sideways because we can certainly put it back up.
That would be handy.
It would be handy. How did you go with your week last week?
Good.
Yes?
Yeah. There's definitely a changing market ahead. I'm predicting it.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah. It's just going to start to... the intensity is probably going to go out of the market a little bit, I think. Hey, we're not sideways.
We're not sideways. Woohoo!
Yes.
Yay.
In saying that, though, it depends on the property, really. It depends on the price. There was, there was one open that was a little bit cheaper that was really busy, strong offers. There was another one that was a bit high that was a bit slow.
Yeah.
I mean, 10 groups, but in today's standards this year, it's probably a bit slow.
Okay, yeah.
Change of weather, things can happen.
Yeah,
so
that's
it. So potentially we might see the market sort of shifting slightly, but I think we've all been prepared for it because it's been such a rapid rise.
Yes.
From the start of Jan to now, and it's been so significant, it's not funny. It's the intensity in the market. Like the buyer inquiry is still really strong.
Yep.
But we gauge our market by our opens and offers. But yeah, I think it'll start to shift.
Yeah. Okay.
And it may not be instant, but it's we'll see.
Okay, this is cool. We've
got to be telling the public this because it's important. I mean, without scaring people, but it's probably might suit some buyers. But we'll see how it goes.
This is good. All right. So to prepare our properties for sale, the things have changed a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So what are you seeing really with changing and how things were a long time ago?
I think I always compare it to when I often use the example of when my parents sold their house in Nichols Point back in 1996. It was very different. You price it high and you come down.
Yeah.
You can always, and the common comment back then or from the older generation is, well, I'm not in a hurry, and I can price it up. I can always come down.
Right.
Whereas the market's changed. I remember, I'll never forget, I was 16. There was like 5 or 6 signboards out the front. It was really about the agents linking the buyers and the vendors using their old what are those little contact
little index things.
Those things, yep. And it was matching up where it's very different now. Our job is to definitely market the properties in the right way, and to ensure we're targeting everybody.
Yes.
Because sometimes not all buyers know what they want.
That's true.
So it's changed. We've got a short period of time when hitting the market, and that's why I really say to my clients, you've just got to get it right at the start.
Yeah.
Because if you don't, and that's not just the presentation, that's price as well. If you don't get it right at the very, very beginning, the buyer inquiry will stop pretty dramatically.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that all comes down to social media and the awareness of properties going to the market. It's pretty instant. So
I think what's a really cool thing, and you just said about presentation and then price.
Yeah.
Getting you in, or getting an agent in to discuss price.
Yeah.
And then working out how much you can capitalize and really present it to make really cool coin.
That's right. I think the biggest thing is a lot of people just don't know where to start.
Yeah.
They fear that first phone call or that first inquiry, and a lot of it, I've said before, a lot of people go, look, we're thinking of selling, but not yet. They panic. They think that if they make that first initial contact, that it's got to be instant, and it's not like that at all. So I had a similar conversation with someone last week. They are really just starting the process. They're getting to a point where they know they want to make a transition at some point because their property's too big, right? For example. So the next step is they don't know where it is. They know kind of what they want. They've got their checklist and what they would like to think that they need.
Yeah.
But in saying that though, it doesn't have to be instant discussion. Like it doesn't have to be an instant scenario where you go straight to the market.
Don't have to sign up straight away.
Because people aren't ready until a certain time. So they're probably next year, these particular clients.
Yeah.
But they are just starting that conversation, and that is fine. That is what we're about.
Exactly.
That's what I'm about. It's really about making sure, okay, well, this is where you're at now, but it's going to change, you know?
Yeah.
The market's still going to shift and you know, in a northerly direction still. We don't think it's going to go backwards. It's still going to go in a good way. So, but it's really about making sure that we can provide that right advice now.
Exactly.
So when they are ready to sell, or if there is a good time for their particular property to go to the market, then I can say, right, I think you need to aim for here. If you're thinking, because I've got people that, you know, they said to me last week, we're ready to go. Sorry, we want to sell, but not yet. We don't want to move till June. I'm like, well, June's only 3 months away. So by the time you go to the market, by the time you get your photos, by the time you do your marketing, you get it to the market, prepare, you know, expect maybe could be anywhere from 3 days to 3 weeks or whatever. And then you got your settlement period, you know, which is typically on average 60 days. Well, there's June there. That's if you go to market
That's
tomorrow.
unreal, isn't it? And
so sometimes people don't sort of, they think, oh, well, I'm not ready yet, but I want to do something in June.
Exactly,
Yeah, or they've got a particular timeline, but the conversation can start at any stage.
That's right. I mean, a classic example was one that you and I went to in Nichols Point a little while ago, where we went and we basically said, you know, if you've got time, do this to the garden, create that driveway, like, because it was a little bit unfinished. So that, you know,
there's conflicting conversations out there, because there's agents that will say that, and there's agents that will say, no, just get it on, get it on now, and get it, and just because you want to take advantage of the market. But it's always important. It doesn't matter what market you're in. The presentation and getting the price right in the marketing is crucial. Doesn't matter whether it's a slow market. It doesn't matter whether it's a busy market. You know, it's probably more important in a quieter market because you need to differentiate yourself from everything else on the market, because that's when you get a bit of a flooding of the market. So it's important to get it right no matter the time. You've got to sort of slow down and say, if you rush home to the market, and there's some people that don't necessarily want to do it. Yeah,
that's okay.
You know, and that's what it is. What it is. It's an advantage for them to buy. If they don't want to do those few things, then that gives, like one that I've got coming to the market. There was stuff to be done, but they just didn't want to do it. They said we don't want to do it, and that is 100% fine. So it's for a potential buyer to come into this situation with this property. They've got some the ability to maybe flip it. They've got the ability to buy it and clean it up and then invest, rent it out, and you know, and then keep it for however long. So everyone's different. You know, not everyone wants to style homes, do they?
No, that's exactly right.
Not everyone does.
We're fine with that.
But everyone should still make a good plan.
Yeah, absolutely. A good plan, work out what needs to be done versus desiring things to be done.
Yeah.
Some people are attached and emotionally attached to their homes where they think, you know, I need that shed, you know, perfect. And so that's, it's a good conversation for us to go in and just say, that's probably, you know, investing in that is not going to make that much of a difference.
That's right. Yeah. So sometimes people are a little bit confused on where to throw their time and effort.
Exactly.
You know, they might be doing something that they might be thinking they're ready to go to the market, and they're doing something that in reality is going to take a month, but it doesn't need to be done.
That's right.
So there's often a little bit of, and there's no shame in that, because at the end of the day, like, this is what we do all the time. So we understand that people have this, you know, it can be overwhelming. And it can kind of be that scenario of, you know, well, I don't know where to start. And sometimes if there is a lot of things to do, it's difficult.
It's full on. Exactly. It's stressful. Got a high mark.
Oh, Mr. Whiteleg.
So if you want some advice to prepare your property, as far as aesthetics are concerned, you know, that's where we start. And then the next step is price.
Yeah, look, it normally is, you know, and that conversation can also start, you know, at the beginning. You know, if you do, like, this is probably where you are now, right? Based on these comparables, or based on what it would cost to replace it if it's a relatively new house. So you've got those, you know, the price conversations start pretty early, but the next step would be, okay, but if we did this, this, and this, you know, this is what you might expect.
That's it.
So
Yes.
if, I guess there's no guarantee. I think the thing about the current market is there's no guarantees, but in a really positive way. We're getting unexpected results, but to the properties that are done right.
That's it.
So Andy Whiteleg, who's just said hello, he's got a maintenance business,
Yeah.
and I often use him to come in, and he's got access to his cleaners, he's got access to painters, to builders, to absolutely everyone. He's an electrician himself, so he can come in, and I can say, well, if you can help me with here, and he looks after the whole thing, right? And we've used him a lot in the past because, then he project manages that sort of scenario.
Yeah.
And it's ideal because they can fix absolutely everything. So we come back and we've got this property that's ready to go, sparkling, looking good.
And they're passionate, like Andy's very passionate about what he does. So
He used to be in real estate, so he understands.
Yeah, he does. He gets
he
it.
understands,
Absolutely gets it. So, and it's, he knows what needs to be done.
We don't want to talk about him anymore.
Yeah, all right. We're done with that.
But no, it is important to have someone that can bring someone in like Andy and then just say, right, you need to do this, but we can handle it all for you. And I liaise with Andy and we get it done. We get the keys and off we go if it's an empty house. So there's so many benefits to doing those little things. If you've got an objection, and I use an example of one a few months ago, that there was a significant objection that the vendors didn't really want to fix.
Okay.
But we got them to do it anyway.
Okay. Yeah.
All it takes in one open inspection is 10, imagine 10 or 15 people in one room.
Yeah.
They're all walking around, moving around, we're talking to them. One of them points out that objection.
Next minute.
They're all out the door. They're most likely not coming back.
Yeah.
Or they're not thinking about how high they're going to go. They're thinking about what price they should pay for it.
Exactly.
So it's a mindset.
Yeah.
So, it's so important, but then you've got other people that don't have the capacity to fix those things. So again, we
can help them as
we
much
just
as
try and do what we can do.
Exactly. Yeah.
So, but yeah, look, price is crucial. It's really about getting the price right, making sure that we're getting the right buyers there. The price range is the price range is very sensitive still. You've got some vendors that really want to shoot high, but then you're getting your wrong set of buyers through.
Yeah.
So there's a big strategy involved, and it's case by case, house by house, property by property. And it's really about making sure that, the objective is to get, a great return on investment for those little things you're fixing up and a good result for the house.
Yeah, beautiful. So can you explain for our audience, like when you think about the strategy to sell, auction versus just put it on the market as like what usually, or sale by set date.
Yeah.
How do you determine that?
I think it depends on the market as well. I think you've got all these different methods that you can use. Your property, where it's located, to me, like an auction type property has got to be CBD stuff.
Okay.
Or it's potentially got to be river stuff. There's, in my opinion, auction's got to be a property that there's going to be multiple buyers, maybe 3 or 4 or 5 potential bidders, and they're more likely going to be cash buyers, because if they're not cash buyers, they're not buying it.
Yeah, that's right.
So there is a lot of strategy behind the auction process, and it's a very good process for the right property. The sale by set date is also it's a similar theory, right? So you're basically saying that in 3 or 4 weeks we're going to close this property, so you've got to be ready to be in a position to buy it by then.
Yeah.
But my argument right now is that everything's been selling in 7 days.
Yes.
Like 90% of the properties are selling really quickly. So are you then slowing that process down? I know sometimes they get brought forward, but I know that there's some buyers that get confused and think, well, hang on, I thought it was supposed to be that date. So there is that can create an element of confusion in the market and for buyers. So it's, you've got to, I potentially think pricing right now in an area that you think it's going to drop in within that range is the way to do it. Because if you're putting an extended date on it, it might just draw the process out for your vendor.
It's also the scarcity that they might miss out.
Yeah.
And then properties come up this week and they're like, well, this is very similar to what we want. Yeah. So, well, let's get that.
Let's get that instead, because we've got to wait for that one.
Exactly.
So it's, there's arguments for all. Every agent has a different opinion on the way they think real estate works best. It's the way we've been trained.
Yeah.
If you're trained by if you're trained a different way, you know, there's open negotiation, which is an area that is like an online sort of a bidding system. You know, there's obviously those agents believe that works for them. So really, I think those systems are probably for a market that could be a bit quieter, that you need to bring it to a head because the buyers are taking their time making decisions. But we don't have that now.
Yes.
We've got buyers that are jumping out of their car head first into a house and making offers immediately.
Yeah.
So, you know, and that happened on the weekend. Like I got one property, there's 5 or 6 offers on. So it's, you know,
awesome.
So I think it's making sure that you're tailoring a campaign that's suitable to your property, because you can't just go, oh, we'll auction this if it's not suitable.
That's right.
We're not gonna do an online system on that because we don't think it's suitable. Or you know, you've got a property. If you price it right, it will walk out the door really quickly. Why drag it out? That's kind of my argument at the moment.
Yeah.
But as the market changes, and if it changes, then that's something that you know, we're going to have to deal with.
That's right, exactly. And there's no right or wrong. It's just what's happening in the current climate.
The biggest issue at the moment is finance.
Is it?
Yeah.
What's happening?
Everything's going wrong. So that's where cash buyers are coming in. So I was talking to another agent this morning, like, you know, he's in Mildura, and we were just having a chat about the market, as you do. And I said, I feel like I'm forever trying to pick up the pieces and pull a contract together. And it's because banks are knocking things on the head for reasons they shouldn't. So you're trying to grab them and then put them to another broker, or so there's a lot of work behind the scenes going into contracts.
Right,
so getting it to the sold process is and going to contract at the moment is probably the easy bit.
Right.
It's after that.
Yeah. Okay.
And that's what I think that's the difference between an agent that's got experience.
Yep.
And if there's probably been four or five deals since I've had one agency that would have fallen over if I didn't know how to actually then go and fix them.
Right.
So I think that's probably been a lot of work. We've got pre-approved buyers that aren't getting financed because of postcodes. We've got certain situations with building inspections that aren't an issue, but I think it's just really making your buyers and your vendors aware of what can probably go wrong between signing the contract and settlement. So there's a lot of finance extensions because banks are slow. So there's so many different little scenarios at the moment that sometimes we don't get, but at the moment banks are horribly slow, and it's just sort of painful.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? And I think there's the valuer, the value of a property, when people are getting excited and they're pricing really high, just, the value just isn't there.
Well, the valuers are going in and not seeing the value. But then I know that there was a property that I sold for $440 that was valued by a valuer a month prior for $340.
Whoa.
So, but I spoke to him and he said, how'd you get that? And I said, well, because there's a lot of emotion in the property.
Yes.
There was so much emotion. There was so many things about the property that I knew the buyers would fall in love with. Now, I didn't think I'd get $440, but I thought $400.
Yep.
And the valuer thought $340 because he looked at it and went, well, there's a half an acre in a Rimple. This is worth X amount, and this is the size of the house.
Yeah.
Divide by blah, blah, blah. And they break it down, right? They simplify it. And I said to him, if you were to walk around and really take in what the property offered, then you would look at it differently. But that's their job. They don't see it that way.
Yeah, that's right. Exactly.
So there is so many different scenarios. Now, that probably would have fallen over if it wasn't a cash scenario. So it's a situation where you've got to understand which properties are going to have emotion and which aren't.
Yes.
The ones with emotion, buyers will come in for head over heels, and that's sort of what happens, and that's why they're worth what they're worth, because you've got multiple people prepared to pay the same price. Yep. That's what it's worth.
Yep, exactly.
And that's as the market grows.
And that's why, going round in the circle, that we present it properly.
Yes.
From the get-go. So you have that.
You've got that small window of opportunity to, and it's really the first open.
Yeah.
When you got all that hype, right?
Yeah.
If you've got 2 people walking around, they're in the box seat. If you've got 22 people walking around, there's that fear of missing out.
Exactly.
And there's a bit of anxiety with buyers going, oh my God, I just keep putting high offers in, but I keep missing out. And it's just that, they're struggling because they've missed out on 4 or 5 properties. But then when they finally get one and you tell them they bought one, there's nothing better.
Oh, wow. It's so exciting, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's the best feeling ever. All right. What else do we
Look,
need
the
to
strategy,
look at?
it continues on. Like, obviously, there's a strategy from pricing it to creating a really significant marketing campaign to making sure that the marketing is suited to their property. Like, properties that don't need video shouldn't have video.
Yeah, don't need it.
If it's an empty house,
Yes.
in my opinion, what's the video?
Yeah,
And blank
that's right.
walls. So
Yeah.
you're spending money that is going to benefit the property. So, you might have a house that's worthy of a full page, double page spread. It works.
Yeah.
You've got to sort of put these particular properties where they need to be. So every campaign will be a certain amount.
Yeah.
Based on what I think it needs is the way. And I'll say to someone, and some people don't want videos even if they're worthy. They'll say, I don't want a video. It's like, it's okay. If you don't want one, that's cool. So everyone's different, right? And so some people want their house up in lights and other people are like, just bring it down a bit. And that everyone's different. And that's okay. So, and then there's a strategy from the moment it goes online, and that's when I would have another meeting with my vendors and say, okay, this is what's happening now. This is what's happened. This is the plan.
Yeah.
This is what's going to happen tomorrow, the next day, the next day, the next day, the next day. And they know. They're not sitting there wondering, shit, what's going on?
That's integrity right there.
Yeah, and it's making sure, and that's something that I've been doing for a couple of years, making sure that you are, the vendors, expect what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Because it's a very daunting process. You're putting something on that you've lived in for 30 years, your kids have grown up in, and you don't hear from the agent for 5 days.
Yeah.
Or you see the sign, okay, so the sign's going up. But when you know when it's going to happen, I think that really helps calm the nerves. Yeah. Because it can be a pretty full-on experience for people.
You can make the process enjoyable.
It is fun.
Yeah.
It can be fun, and for a lot of my clients, I think they do really enjoy it, and that's the way it should be. Yeah. It shouldn't be the opposite.
Exactly. And that's when the champagne comes out, when it's,
That's
done.
why we do the champagne showers.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Perfect.
And, and for talking about strategy in a way to actually, some people want auction. Some people just do not. And I always warn people that they're stressful. Yeah. But they can be very rewarding. So it depends on the person. So I've got clients like our clients, Critter and Moggy, who have renovated, and it was very daunting for them, but it is for us as well.
Absolutely.
But it got great reward. So, but case by case.
Exactly, it is case by
person
case.
by person. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Exactly. I just think it's an amazing process, and I love the fact that you do make it fun. You do make it so that it is like you take away the overwhelm, you take away the stresses. Yeah. And keep people up to date. Like, it's...
Well, you got to. Otherwise, they're wondering, and if they're not knowing what's going on, then they're thinking the worst.
Well, it's their sale, not just yours. Yeah. So it's kind of like it's a team effort.
100%. And it's making sure that at the end of, when we go to contract, there is another plan. Yeah. Going to settlement. Yeah. And it's making sure, and then that plan actually is back on the vendors to say, right, now it's up to you to ensure that you're keeping your end of the bargain up, right? Keep your gardens in good nick. When the buyer walks in, you make sure that you've actually got it looking sparkling for them, because there's nothing worse than 2.5 years ago, my file inspections were the part of that job that I didn't like, because you'd come in and the house wasn't clean, or the cupboards weren't emptied properly, or there was things that just weren't done, or the lawns weren't mowed. But that's kind of the process I go with now. So I'll do all this, but when it's time for you to hand it over to the buyer, hand it over to them in a way that you can be proud, and the buyers come in and just go, oh my God, this is perfect. Yeah. Because, personally I've had it where I've walked into a home going, oh, great, now I've got to clean.
Yeah, exactly.
It really taints the whole process. Yeah. So, it's about making sure that the buyers have a great experience. They can come into a home, settlement days, can be stress less. They've got to move. Yeah. but they get to come into a home that's just absolutely handed
how
to
they
them on a
saw
platter.
it, how they wanted to buy
And then as soon as you have that conversation with them, they 100% get it and they go, yes, I'm going to do that.
Yep.
So there is lots of plans and processes, and
Yep.
it's not just put a signboard up. And I've said that for so
Yes,
long. It's not just
exactly.
putting a signboard up. You know, it's a lot of effort, but it's rewarding for everyone, for the buyer, the vendor.
But you set the standard for communication too.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
when you give people lots of communication, like you do,
Yeah.
you know, keep them. Like that email we got the other day from one of our clients that's like gave the heads up, like, you know,
Yeah,
it's going to
yes,
be, you know,
yeah.
unconditional. It's
We're
unconditional.
keeping the grass green
And
and-
the
yeah.
plants and you know, that was just like, wow, you
Yeah.
set the bar for communication,
Yeah.
and they're just so appreciative as well. But they're setting it up for the buyers to walk into.
Absolutely. And it's so much, you know, it's so nice for a buyer to walk into that situation. And,
Yeah.
and you know, we're in a small town, you know,
Exactly.
we are.
That's
And,
it.
you know, if you've got, oh yeah, we bought a house and it reflects on me.
Yep.
Like whether you like it or not,
Yep.
if you sell a house to someone and it's not presented well, then, you know, hey, I bought a house off one agency and it was da-da-da-da. So you've got to do everything. I've got to do everything to make sure that it's handled and that the vendor knows what to expect, the buyer knows what to
Yeah.
expect. You know, that settlement day can be not settlement day. It can get delayed. They all know what to expect.
Yeah.
So if the unexpected does happen, like I had one yesterday where I said to the vendor, look, it's likely the finance is going to fall over for this buyer. And she's like, what?
Oh.
And you know, she was on her lunch break at work and she was in a really good mood and it changed everything.
Yeah.
But by the end of the conversation, it was, you know, I want you to know that, and that's the benefit of going out in a big way. I've got someone there ready to buy it.
Right.
So that's the benefit of having several offers.
Yes.
So we don't have to go back to the market. So I've got someone there. And by the end of it, she was calm. And it was really making sure that she knows that it's my responsibility to make sure it's handled. And I said, just don't worry. Like, what happens, happens. But
Yeah.
we'll sort it out. And she's like, oh, good, I can go back to my burger now. Because she was,
Good on
but
her.
it can be that, you know, if I had to ring up and said, look, the finance is going to fall over, I'll get back to you later and we'll put it back on the market, bang. It would ruin her day.
That would have been awful.
Yep. And it's not a great conversation to have.
No.
But in saying that though, as long as the vendors know that there is likely, you know, it's likely that any deal can sort of fall over at the moment, and you've just got to be aware of it.
Yep. Absolutely.
And that's that conversation, all those little conversations that we have.
Yeah.
So
And that's the confidence you put in people when they sign up with you, is just that they are handheld
yeah.
all the way through the process.
And the reason these little processes that I've come up with is because, you know, 5 years ago, I'd say something and I'd be like, how do you not know that? And then I'm like, of course you don't know. Why would you? You've never sold a house before. Like certain terms that we use, that agents use, you know, the term unconditional, people just go, what does that mean?
What is that? Yeah.
Cooling off period. How long does it go for? You know, so there's so many different scenarios where we as agents assume that they understand our acronyms and things that we say,
language,
like every industry has them. So it's breaking that down for people and making sure that you know, they know what to expect from me as their agent, what they're getting paid, what I'm getting paid to do, and what value they get from me and Letitia and, you know, and one agency.
Yep.
But also, you know, what I expect from them.
Exactly.
Because it's a team effort.
It is. It is.
So, yeah.
Perfectly said. I love this live. This is good.
Yeah.
This is good. I think, if you need even if it's just advice, like, hit him up.
I have a lot of people say, look, I'm not selling, but I need to know what my house is worth
Exactly.
for insurance, for what I don't care. Like, that's my job.
Yeah.
You know, like if you need a valuer, get a valuer. But
That's
the
right.
majority of people just like to have a bit of an indication. It might be for their financial planner. It might be for their accountant. And, you know, one guy just shot me an email and I just did some homework online. There was photos, there was the property, I knew exactly what it offered. I knew how many bedrooms it was.
Yep.
The size of the home, the size of the land. You know, it wasn't convenient for me to get through the house because there was a tenant in place. So, you know, it's a guide because it's not exact, but that's all he needed. So
good.
it's really about making sure that, you know, you don't have to get paid for every job.
It's your duty.
We have to provide a service.
Absolutely.
And what goes around comes around.
Yes.
And that's this industry.
Yes,
It's very
exactly.
much the case. So
Excellent stuff. Well, if you've got any questions, please hit up Mark or Letitia, and yeah, I'm sure they'll, like he just said, we'll help you out. This has been a good one.
Best we can.
Do as best you can. Yeah, absolutely.
So, but yeah, if anyone wants to just go through that, structure or strategy to a campaign, or if it's just starting, if they're selling next year, like some people say, look, we're moving, we're following the kids, we're going to go this time next year. Whatever it is, it doesn't matter. The conversation can start now.
In my experience, it's never too early.
Never, yeah.
Yeah.
And there might be things that might take time to rectify with the house that can be done. And then there's no pressure on the owners to actually get it done in a short period of time.
Exactly.
So I always say get it right.
Absolutely. Get it right from the get-go. All right, thanks for joining us today. We'll see you next week. I'm not sure if we've got a guest or not, but we're always looking for guests if we know someone.
We've got some good ones coming up.
Yes.
But just not yet.
Not yet, exactly.
So that'll be a fun one. We'll announce that in a couple of weeks. But, if there's anyone that wants to come on that's prepared, to be seen on national TV.
Absolutely. Like global.
Yeah.
Yeah. Jump on, you can reach out. All right, guys, have a great day wherever you are in the world, and we'll see you next week.
Bye-bye.
Bye.